What is going on, guys? Welcome to Greggles TV. This video is all about the Tcl Stylus phone. This is like a $270-ish phone, and it has a built-in pen, or stylus as they call it, or you might be used to be calling it an S Pen with what Samsung has. But ultimately, I've done a video, and I'll link the video down below, where I show you basically everything that you can do with the S Pen. So I go really in depth with that video. And this phone itself works on T-Mobile and Metro. So if you have one of those carriers, or you're with one of those carriers, you can use this phone on there, which ends up being great because it's so inexpensive and it's a pretty darn good phone for the price. Now, let me just run through some specs on here. 6.81 inch, 60 hertz, 1080p plus resolution display. 500 nits brightness. So what does that mean? Basically, the screen is definitely clear enough to see. It looks really good. And 500 nits brightness it gets actually pretty bright, especially for when you think of this as a $270 phone. It looks just as good as a lot of other phones that I've seen a lot more expensive than this, like at the $500-600 range. It looks just as good as those, if not better than that. So I'm very, very happy with the look and brightness of the display. I do wish it was 120 hertz. I'm so used to 120 hertz that this does feel a little bit slow, the display. But ultimately, if you've never seen a 120 hertz display, it's not gonna bug you at all, or if you don't even care, then whatever. Runs Android 12, and that's great. You probably won't get a ton of updates out of this. I don't know exactly how many updates you'll get, but my guess is this would probably get you up to Android 13, and then a bunch of security updates in between all of that stuff. MediaTek Dimensity 700 processor, meaning that you can do mostly anything on this. I did run a Geekbench score on here. It's not completely crazy impressive to something that you might see on a high-end phone, but you can see it got a score of 546 on the single core and 1737 on the multi-core score. You can play games on it, you can run websites, all that, and we'll kind of run through some of that stuff on here. Beyond that, 4,000 milliamp battery, 18-watt charging, so it's not super fast charging, but it is somewhat fast charging. I think it takes about 2 hours to fully charge. You do get a headphone jack on here, very rare occurrence on a lot of phones, but if you need a headphone jack, it does come with one. USB-C charging. It does come with stereo speakers on here. No wireless charging. Side-mounted fingerprint sensor, which works really well. As you can see, I've already set it up once on here, and I am very happy with how accurate and fast it is. It works really, really well. Even the design of the phone, you look at this, it's got the camera at the top here on top of the display, so it's a very modern look, very slim. It is a flat display. I love it in terms of the looks. It's very simplistic, but you know what? I'm fine with it. It's a huge display for a 6.81 inch, 1080p plus. It looks great. Fantastic with the display and the size of that. Is it big? Yeah, I think for most people, but keep that in mind. One thing to know is, since this is like a TCL branded phone, you're not gonna get a ton of accessories like you would on like an Apple phone or even a Samsung phone. So you might have some trouble finding a good amount of different cases and things like that. Beyond that, everything else will work with this. Obviously, Bluetooth, any other charger you can use with this as well. What comes inside of the box? Also, there's no water resistance or dust resistance with this phone, so keep that in mind as well. You do get, almost a rare occurrence again, you get your 18-watt charging brick and your USB-C charging cable. And that's pretty much out in there. They don't give you any headphones, wired headphones or anything like that. Not a big deal though. Coming back in here. So let's, I did take some photos and videos, so we'll check all that stuff out. You get a ton of different modes on here. Well, not a ton, but a fair amount. Enough to make yourself feel complete inside. Portrait mode, panorama, video, auto mode. You can, there's your different modes. You get pro mode, panorama, stop motion, slow motion, light trace, super macro, high pixel. It goes up to 50 megapixel portrait mode. So let's check out some photos and videos that I took with the phone. So I did want to show what this sounded like with a fan blowing nearby. It's not blowing directly on this. I'm holding it a little bit above it, but it was still, maybe you can hear it, maybe you can't, just to give you some pollution in the noise, just to see how this handles it. So one thing to know about the video is, doesn't seem to be any optical image stabilization. It is only electronic, and that's on both sides, the front and the back. Also, the front and the back only do up to 1080p video, but honestly, even phones that do 4K, by default, they're set to 1080p, and I bet 90% of the people don't even switch it, so whatever, right? So this is what it looks like, front camera right now. Now let's switch to the back. All right, here is the back. I'll stand here just for a moment, just in case the stabilization just isn't that well or good. I'm assuming it's probably not going to be that good because it is EIS, but it's a good way to keep the cost of a phone down by using electronic rather than optical, because optical is like physical hardware within the phone lenses that would help with that. So what do you think? How's it look and sound? Let me know in the comments down below. Here's the ultra wide. Very cool that it has ultra wide. And also, besides that, you can do up to 4x zoom when you want to zoom in. So you can get kind of close to objects, not incredibly close, but I mean, at least you have some kind of zoom on there. Now, I brought up YouTube here, so I'll start up a YouTube video for you guys. We'll go into, let's do the Spotify one.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Greggles TV. In this video, I'm going to show you the must change setting on Spotify to change. Why? Because you pay a premium to listen to this music, and why not get the very best quality audio that you can get? Because by default, it doesn't matter if you're doing this for the first time or the last time, when you set up Spotify on your phone, even if you did it on an older phone, it doesn't carry over these quality settings, so you need to change.
So one thing I can tell right off the bat, even that 480p, that looks actually really, really good. I'm really impressed with that. One thing I can tell with this is that the sound is, I can definitely hear stereo speakers. It's just not very loud. Loud enough to hear it here. But you know, you're in a busy, loud environment. It might be a little difficult to hear, but that's where you got the headphone jack. You can do Bluetooth, so all that stuff's gonna be fine at the end of the day. The quality of the display looks really good on here. You know, I don't see any issues with viewing angles. The colors look really good. When I pinch in to see the whole thing, it actually pinches in. It doesn't take off a terrible amount of stuff. So overall quality of the screen is really, really nice. I'm definitely impressed with it. And then, like I said, with the sound, not amazing. It'll get the job done in a pinch. But you know, if I had to give the quality of the sound, I'd probably give it a 4 or 5 out of 10. And then the quality of the screen, I'd probably give it maybe an 8 out of 10. Now, I wouldn't say 8 out of 10 on any display, but you know, overall, it looks pretty good. Just quality of the display. For that price, 260 bucks, this display looks freaking really good. So like, just writing on it is actually a pretty smooth experience. Now, when I compare it to the Galaxy S22 Ultra, that does feel a little bit better, and it should. It has a faster processor, has a SPen that's Bluetooth compatible and has lower latency when writing, but this is freaking pretty good, like for what you're getting, especially at $260-ish. I would call it amazing, really. There's like 10 different things to do, basically. So you got your Nebo for TCL, which is a free app that comes with the phone, automatically pre-installed. You don't have to do anything. What this does is it translates your notes. You can import PDFs, you can do a new freeform page or just a new page, and it will translate whatever that you write, and you have to pretty much stay within the lines. So I haven't used this too much. Let me see. Oh, let me choose a pencil. Here we go. Type. Ooh, there's that. So it got Greg is the best, and I have that translated now. So if you take a bunch of notes, you can save it as a typed thing. So next, let's go into a little bit of performance here, just running around the operating system. Like I said, this has the Dimensity 710 Android Police website. So I'll load that up. Google it. You can see everything loads up pretty quick when I click on stuff. This is just running off my Wi-Fi, but you can get 5G on T-Mobile's networks. So it works pretty good there. Go into this article next with pocket operator, pixel for hands-on. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Again, it's not completely as fast. I think the thing is turned off. That's why it's not rotating. There we go. Now it should rotate. Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with that. The Dimensity processors, especially when you get higher up in there, they actually perform better than even Snapdragon processors in terms of benchmarks. This one is obviously not the top end one, but it runs pretty well on here. Let me just go. We'll go into settings next. There you go. You get all your stuff in here for your advanced features, which will look at some of the software features. So performance, pretty good. Opening up apps and stuff like that. Opening up the Play Store. Pictures, rotating the display back and forth. So very nice. Performance, just day-to-day stuff is gonna be great. Software, so this is pretty bare bones. When you come on here, this is like all the apps. I've only installed a few apps. I did get the Nebo for TCL, which has to do with the stylus. So does that calculator app. Gamebox was not pre-installed, but that's gonna be like a game manager type thing. Your tools, nothing too crazy in there that's annoying anyway. You get your Google apps. That's pretty much it. You're not getting a whole bunch of crapware. This is a $270 phone, and it, again, doesn't really have any crapware on it. It's really, really nice to see. And it kind of runs, I mean, it's a kind of a bare bones version of Android, but it is obviously like the little skin on top of it, TCL skin on there, which is still pretty easy to figure out how to do. You get your dedicated screenshot button. You got your flashlight button. You got your settings. When you come into settings, you can turn off buttons and gestures to change your system navigation if you want. Well, just like any other Android phone, you get advanced features. So if you want to do a smart app recommends, you can turn that on and off. Your one-handed mode, you can turn on game mode on and off. Screen recorder, you got your stylus, sounds and vibrations. Rearrange your home screens, and you can put, you know, they do kind of have a theme on here. You can either do round style icons or square style or freestyle. And obviously you can install a third-party launcher if you wanted to. But I've always enjoyed the TCL software. I like it because it's simplistic, but they still give you some nice options to customize the software overall. Now, this does have 128 gigs of storage, but you can also put a micro SD card expansion storage in there as well. Again, very rare to see in phones today, but it does have it, so you can add additional storage for really, really low costs. The phone is made of plastic, which does not bother me at all. You drop this, it's not gonna crack like glass will if it hits a hard surface. At least it shouldn't. So plastic, I enjoy it. It keeps the weight down and it gives it a little bit more durability than glass. And it doesn't feel cheap either. Like I'm pressing on this, and you know, if you touched it real quick, you might be mistaken that it's is that glass or is that plastic? So it doesn't feel cheap at all. I don't think so anyway. And then the overall look of the phone is modern. I love the side-mounted fingerprint sensor. The speakers are pretty okay, nothing amazing. The screen is absolutely beautiful. The performance is above adequate to be able to do what you want, from some light gaming to web browsing to social media, taking photos and stuff like that. The camera's okay, it gets the job done. It's definitely not amazing, but you know, what can you expect for 270 bucks? This pretty much checks all the boxes and gets some of them to be really, really good boxes at that. So if you want to pick it up, I'll link it down below. Have a great day, and we'll see you down the road.